But because this is a pattern that has become habitual, sometimes you don't even notice it. And even more dangerous, the brain doesn't even know that it's doing something that does not serve you. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Dominique Davis, also known as Brown and Bindi, and here on this channel we practice flexibility of the mind, the body, and the spirit. I have a couple of things that I'd like to talk to you about before we get into today's message. So if you're gang, then cuddle in. And if you're not and you're just here for the word, then I will put the timestamp on the screen and you can click the timestamp and just fast forward. It's fine. I'm not going to take it personal. Okay, so the first thing that I want to talk about is just my gratitude for you all in this community. Thank you so much for caring about me and my mental health. I really saw how dedicated you guys were to sending me messages and sending me comments and just making sure that I was good. And just means a lot. Just means a lot. Thank you so much. I love you. I return the sentiment. I hope that my videos help you get to a good place the way that you guys help me get to a good place. I love you so much. The second thing that I would like to talk about is our merch. We have merch. Yes, we do. And it's pretty. It's pretty merch. Okay, so we have sweatshirts and we have long sleeve shirts that look like this. I will put them on the screen somewhere. And let's talk about what they represent. Let's talk about what this symbol on the shirt represents and what the shirt overall represents. So as you can see, the design is inspired by a tarot card. And the number 44 is my angel number. It's the number that I feel connects me with my spirit guides. And it's just very, very, very close to my heart. So that is the number that I chose to have at the top of the card. Let's talk about the symbol on the card. On the card, we have a dancer. And for a head, she has a mirror filled with flowers. And what this represents is the garden of the mind. You know, when you are a botanist, if you will, or if you're a gardener, you don't just plant a flower, you don't just plant a plant and say, all right, I'm done, we're good, give me clout. Like, no, you start a garden with the intention of always nurturing the garden. And I believe that that's how we need to approach our mindset and our spiritual journeys. It's not something that we're doing for the end result. It's something that we're doing because it makes us feel good and it makes us into better versions of ourselves. So if we treat our mental growth, our mental expansion, the same way as a gardener treats their garden, we'll always be a breath away from alignment. So this keeping up of the mind leads to flexibility. And that's because when you nurture your mind, you start to think differently, and that leads to different choices and different actions. And actions are in the body. So that's where the flexibility of the body comes from. And this is what leads to manifestation, as co-creating with the universe. You can also see that the dancer has a pen in her hand, and this pen represents intention. Okay? We can think about what we want. We can create whatever we want in our mind, but we bring that into reality by speaking it into existence, by writing it into existence, by saying to the air, this is what I claim for my life. This is what will pass. And the pen represents the intention of co-creating our lives with this beautiful universe, with source, with God, whatever you believe. Last but not least, oh, when did you get back in here? Last but not least, we also have the dancer on a cloud that's sitting so beautifully on the moon, and the moon represents how we as individuals are all one. We are one with each other. We are one with this life experience. The moon affects the tides in the ocean. The moon also affects our emotional state. The moon affects when we can have strong intention and put those intentions out. The moon also affects when we decide that we want to let go of certain factors in our lives and we want to give those away, if you will. So that's what the moon represents. And all together, looking at this card, looking at this shirt, to me, is a picture of how Brown and Bindi explains and believes and understands the act of manifestation. So yeah, we have a shirt. I hope you like the design. Why are you stepping all over my stuff? I hope that you like the design because it's fire, to be honest. I co-created this shirt with a amazing graphic designer. She goes by the French Witch on Instagram. If you check out her page, you can see all of her art. She is so phenomenally talented that sometimes I can't even grasp it. So check her stuff out. I'm so thankful. You're going to use my elbow to pet yourself. I am so thankful that we were able to collaborate on this piece of fabric, on this piece of merch together, because I'm just so happy with how it came out. So if you'd like a shirt, there will be a link in the description box from here on out going forward. The other thing that I wanted to tell you guys was I've been feeling like my videos have been getting stale and like I haven't been enjoying making them as much. And it's not the message and it's not you guys. I was just trying to prepare for this baby, so I was making all my videos at night when I was drained and tired because I was just telling myself this is how it has to be. And you know, I'm gonna throw that out the window and go back to making my videos during the day when I have the energy to give myself to you in a way that feels genuine and authentic and not so forced because it's 10 o'clock at night. And yeah, so we might be looking at different backgrounds for a while until I figure out what I am doing. But yeah, I want to get back into having more fun making videos and delivering the messages in a more chill way, because I feel like with the nighttime filming, we were going very into like, this is a lecture. And even though my videos are kind of lectures, I don't want it to feel like it. So yeah, okay, now let's talk about today's video. Today's video is about why you feel like you are stuck in the same place, why you feel like you are standing in mud and you can't walk forward. Why does that happen? Today's video is going to be about better understanding our internal patterns and how our patterns actually stop us from going forward and instead keep us in the same cycles. A pattern is something that you do habitually. So at some point in time, your brain decided, this works, I like this is comfortable. So going forward, whenever you would find yourself in a similar situation, if you have created an idea of what helps you cope with the situation, you may fall into a pattern that allows you to cope with the situation in the same way every single time. For example, conflict. Let's say when you were really young, you learned that if you deflect all wrongdoing, you never feel bad. So if someone comes up to you and says, you hurt me, and then you say no, and you think of all of the reasons why it wasn't your fault, you realize you can get out of that situation without feeling any guilt. So maybe one of your patterns is deflecting responsibility while in conflict because it makes you feel better. Now, what is the negative side effect of that? And yes, we are going to say negative because it is negative when we do not take responsibility for our actions. The negative side effect of this pattern is constantly downplaying other people's emotions because you don't want to take responsibility. But because this is a pattern that has become habitual, sometimes you don't even notice it, and even more dangerous, the brain doesn't even know that it's doing something that does not serve you. Instead, because you've learned to use this as a coping mechanism in certain situations, you 100% believe that this approach to life is the best approach for you. So actually, yes, let's start there. How to identify a pattern. The best way to identify a pattern that does not serve, why am I doing this? I think there's cat hair in my eye. The best way to identify a pattern that does not serve you is to sit back and look at the things that have happened in your life over and over and over again. What are some problems and some things that have come up in your life that if you had a choice, you would never deal with, but for some reason, these things keep happening over and over and over again. This can be in relationships. This can be in your personal, internal life, in your internal monologue, in the way that you speak to yourself. This can be in your career. I would sit back and look at every aspect of your reality and notice, what do you find yourself dealing with on a regular basis? Because what you find yourself dealing with on a regular basis is connected to your life patterns. For the purpose of this video, we are going to observe patterns within our relationships, within our thoughts, and within our manifestations. Because this video can't be 3 hours long, right? Because patterns are habitual, they become comfortable. And oftentimes, this comfortability stops us from realizing that we are self-sabotaging. And this is what keeps us stagnant. The inability to recognize that we're actually hurting ourselves by making these same choices over and over and over again. If you are the person who never takes responsibility for any wrongdoing when someone brings conflict up to you, yes, you walk out of every situation not feeling guilty for anything, but how many relationships have you been able to nurture and keep? How many of your relationships are thriving? It can't be that many, because every relationship is going to have conflict at some point. And if you're the type of person to always deflect responsibility, how do you expect to grow with others? Our thought patterns determine our relationships as well as the speed of our manifestations. Okay, let's talk about it a little bit more. Thought patterns are a reflection of your belief system. Everything in life is a reflection of your belief system, if you want to be honest about it. So that being said, I do have a 2-part series about belief systems. If you do not know what a belief system is or how to identify what is going on within your belief system. If you're a person who likes to deflect responsibility within your relationships, at some point you probably learned that if you take responsibility for what you've done wrong, a feeling comes with that. And it's not always the greatest feeling, because a lot of times when we do things wrong, we are aware that we are doing something wrong. So maybe at a very young age, this person just learned that I don't like feeling guilty. I don't like feeling bad about myself. I want to believe that I am perfect, so I will believe that I am perfect. And as that person gets older and comes more and more into conflict with others, they have in their belief system that they are unable to make a mistake within a relationship, because that's just not who they are. That is their pattern of thinking. Every time something comes up that forces them to address how they see themselves and how they see themselves in their relationship with others, because they've created this coping mechanism of believing that they are already finished products when it comes to their relationships with others, they never grow. Because what happens when you're in conflict with a person and you accept responsibility for what you've done wrong? You understand how you've hurt somebody else, and that leads to mental expansion. Oftentimes, our patterns keep us comfortable. They do not contribute to our growth. All this to say, if you are in a place where you're trying to identify your life patterns, I would suggest that you think about your life and you think about what you want to change about your life. And when you think about what you want to change about your life, think about how you feel about that specific part of your life. This is when we start to quiet the mind and tune into our thoughts, try to articulate our thoughts. And when we think about the part of our lives that we want to change, it's very possible that there are some negative triggering ideas and thoughts in that part of our mind. So when we think about this, our brain may say, I want to think about something else. I want to do something else. What's on TV? Let me call somebody. Let me text somebody. And instead, I'm telling you to just face it head on. So think about what you want to change about your life. And then think about how you feel about that specific aspect of your life. When you think about that specific aspect of your life that you want to change, listen to the sentences that are in your mind. For example, this person who never takes responsibility for any wrongdoing, they may realize that they're kind of lonely. So they may say to themselves, I would like more friends. That is the part of my life that I want to nurture, my friendships. So when they think about friendships, they would start to think about conflict within friendships. And that's when this person may have the opportunity to identify that in every single fight, they've never been wrong. And then it's up to that individual person to understand whether this pattern of never being wrong has anything to do with the fact that they don't have many friends. But it definitely takes stillness and a quieting of our environment so that we can hear our mind and hear our thoughts so that we can better understand what we're thinking when it comes to the patterns in our lives. Another example is where we work. Someone may say to themselves, I don't like my job. I want to change my job. And to that, I would say, okay, so what do you think about your job? And this person may say, I feel undervalued. I don't feel appreciated. I feel trapped. One thing that I really want to make clear is that the manifestation, the life change, comes with the change in thought process. So if you identify that you don't like your job and then you realize that you feel underappreciated and bored, the next step isn't manifesting a new job where all of these feelings go away. That is a step that may be down the line if that's what you would like. But right now, we are looking at mental patterns. If that's how you feel about your job, that means every day when you go into your job, you feel bored and unappreciated. And every single day you are thinking about how you feel bored and unappreciated. And that is a mental pattern. So instead, I challenge you to look at the adjectives that come up when you think about the situation that you're trying to change, and in this example, your job. Instead, how can we flip how we feel about our jobs into something positive? Yes, this is an example of using positive thinking to manifest. Using positive thinking does not work in every situation, but in changing our patterns, it sure does. So let's say that you feel underappreciated. A way that you can change this pattern is learning how to appreciate yourself in your workplace. Instead of waiting for a boss to congratulate you or a coworker to say, hey, that's really good, every single project that you finish at your job, take the time to say to yourself, you killed that. I killed that. Yeah, because you're talking to yourself. So take the time to say to yourself, I killed that. Wow, I am really good at what I do. I am great. I am amazing. This job would be lost without me. Take time to really, really, really appreciate yourself to the level that you wish that you were being appreciated, because you will find that that helps you fill in that area that you feel like is lacking. Because a lot of times we don't need validation from other people. We just use validation from other people to validate ourselves. So there's that. Another thing that we said was that you may feel bored at your job. Instead of saying every day, my job's so boring, my job's so boring, my job's so boring. Instead, flip that pattern to, I am so grateful for the simplicity of my job. I am so grateful that I understand my job so well that it's so simple. Find ways to be grateful for that simplicity, because that is going to start expanding your mind to a place of a person who likes their job. You don't have to fall in love with this job that you do not see yourself at forever. But it's okay to know that this job isn't the end point of your journey. And in knowing that, you're able to give yourself a little bit of wiggle room to enjoy your daily experience. Because you cannot jump from being an unhappy person to being a happy person. The happy thoughts come first, and then reality responds to those thoughts. I could talk about this forever, but let's move on to the next point. Relationships that are stagnant. Let's say that you find yourself always in patterns in your relationships and you do not know how to change how you interact socially, but you're not happy socially. I find that there are two patterns that people usually fall into. Of course, there are tons more than this, but I'm going to talk about the two most common that I see. The first is the one that we referenced at the beginning of this video. I always want to be right. If you have a mindset of I'm always right, I'm never wrong, I'm never the one who has done the bad thing, I am always the one who is coming from the right place. If that is your mind, that means that in relationships, your thought pattern is probably that of the aggressor. When you're speaking to people, when you're handling conflict, when you are vetting new friends, you are probably always trying to get ahead of the conversation. You're always trying to get ahead of the energy so that you can control how the situation pans out. So when it comes to your relationships, sit back and especially look at the conflict that you've had within your relationships, because that's going to show you your patterns right out. And if you find that you are an aggressor in your relationships, then it's simply the act of balancing. Okay? It's not about taking away all your power. It's about balancing this idea of, I'm a good person, I don't mean to intentionally hurt anyone, with, I'm human and sometimes I make mistakes. Creating space in your heart to grow instead of assuming that you're a finished product. Now, on the flip side of that, I find that the other thought pattern that a lot of people fall into within relationships are that of being too passive aggressive because they want everyone in their lives to be so happy. These type of people are the ones who are always wrong. Whenever there's any type of conflict, these types of people will say, it's my fault, I'm sorry, without even thinking, without even analyzing the situation to see if they were done wrong in any way. These types of people often look to make everyone feel better so that the energy of the situation can be easier for them to deal with. I can be one of those people. I do not like conflict. I tend to run from it. I'm working on it. I'm not perfect. And if you find that you are also a person who can be passive aggressive and not take conflict on with others head on, then the balance comes from a different place. The balance comes from a place of knowing that you are entitled to, one, not like people. You don't have to like everyone. And two, you are entitled to feel worthy at all moments in every situation. So then balancing this worthiness and this choice of who you have in your life with knowing that, again, sometimes you can be wrong, sometimes you can offend people without knowing. It's a balance. It's never all on one end of the spectrum. Last but not least, let's talk about our thought patterns when it comes to manifestation. When you manifest something, what do you tend to think? Something that I often see is fear. A lot of times when people manifest things, they are scared because they are scared of their own power and they are scared of the responsibility that comes with being able to claim things for your life. So what are some thoughts that you have when you successfully manifest? Are you scared? Are you surprised? Do you feel guilty that you've manifested? Do you feel limited even though you've manifested? Learning to identify that feeling you have right after you successfully manifest anything. And I mean even the very, very small things. When you set an intention in your mind and then see that intention reveal itself in your reality, how do you react? What do you think? Do you think it's just a coincidence? What do you think? Because those are your thought patterns when it comes to manifestation. And if you are not on the same page as, I manifested something, this is wonderful, thanks universe, let's do it again. If that's not what you're thinking, then every time you're manifesting, you are stopping at that point, as opposed to manifesting and continuing to flow forward. So instead of the negative things that I brought up a few moments ago, I highly suggest that when you manifest something successfully, very simply say to yourself, there's more where that came from. And that will help you identify any patterns that do not align with the thought, there's more where that came from. All right, you guys, that is all I have for this really long video. I hope that you enjoyed it because I enjoyed making it. If you did, give this video a thumbs up so other people on YouTube know that it's valuable and that they should watch it. Also, if you would like me to expand on anything that I've talked about in today's video, just let me know down below and I will be happy to. Last but not least, please make sure that you are subscribed and that you click that notification bell so that you may become a reality bender yourself and join the Bendy Bunch. I love you so much, and I'll see you next upload. Bye!